Why did I become a skinhead? How could you not? I mean, here you are, you're, you know, young, angry, zits, hormones, no social skills, and it's awesome. You know, it looks good, it feels good, it makes you, you know, it's just on, you know, it's brilliant. It was great. You know, it was the style, it was, you know, you were lean, mean, you know, I mean, and don't forget, we were getting a lot of shit for punk rock. Punk rock was not bought off the peg. Punk rock was like, you know, some redneck trying to beat your ass because you're buying a Bear Claw and a Big Gulp or something every goddamn day. You know what I mean?
Skinhead to me is a blue-collar struggling person, you know, and dressed down in their work clothes. That's initially what it was supposed to be, not fancy tennis shirts and expensive boots that get flats on them.
If you're dressing like a skinhead and you're walking around in the normal world, people look at you like you're a white power Nazi in general. I mean, some people know the difference, and maybe you're better off in Baltimore, New York, or Boston or something. But the bottom line is that before you do anything, you're already judged. And I guess the adult thing to say was, well, why do you dress like that? You know what I mean? Like, why do you do that to yourself? And I guess the real reason is that I don't really fucking care what anyone else thinks. And that if I want to do something, I'm just going to go ahead and do it.
It's really about pride. I mean, just pride in yourself. I mean, you know, in your country, in your class. I mean, you know, just, you know, being proud of who you are and willing to stand up for it and defend it.
I got a heart full of pride, and you can never take the pride away from me. That feeling makes me full of strength. It makes me want to live and fight for what I am. I got a heart full of pride, and you can never take the pride away from me. That feeling makes me full of strength. It makes me want to live and fight for what I am. I got a flame in my heart that never dies. I got a heart full of pride. I got a flame in my heart that never dies. I got a heart full of pride.
Well, we didn't have the internet, but you knew what was going on, and things would filter through. And plus, you know, I'd lived in England, so you know, I knew what skinheads were. You know, and then the whole Oi thing was coming out at the same time that, you know, my generation, I mean, you know, my generation of musicians was hardcore over here and it was Oi over there, and it was just like, duh, you know, I'm home. Yeah, I mean, you know, it's funny, you know, when you're 45 and you say we wanted to rebel, it sounds a bit daft, you know what I mean? Because you're like, oh, who was they anyway? I don't know who they were. I hated them. I think I still do, but who were they? And but it was like, I don't know. I mean, how can you know? It's one of the, if you see it, you know it. It's on. You know what I mean? If you to try and explain it, I don't know. It's just, it looked cool. It was cool. It still is cool. Apart from the assholes, and they suck. And nobody likes them. They don't even like themselves. But you know, because I've never met a bigot that likes themselves. So you know, why are you yelling at these people? Go, you know, get some therapy or something. You know. I didn't, you know, we weren't, I don't know, how do you say it? It's like, we didn't say, okay, we're all skinheads, let's form a band and we'll be a skinhead band. We were just like four guys. They had another, the other guys had another band and they were going to get a guy to sing, and he didn't want to do it, so they got me to do it. I was still living up here in Baltimore and then traveling down for practices and stuff, and on the weekend, because, you know, there's something to do. And, you know, hop on the Greyhound for $6, I think it was, you know what I mean, and go down to DC and hang out for a weekend and, you know, drink and fight and go to shows and hang out, you know. But this is before I moved down there after high school, you know. So we just started a band, and a couple of us were skinheads, and a couple of them were punk rockers. But again, it was the the was just, you know, the only thing that set us apart really was the style and the fact that we didn't want to play hardcore, not because we didn't like it, but because we did like it, but we wanted to do something different because, well, what am I going to do? Like out Minor Threat? You know what I mean? They're our friends, and they're a fucking great band. But, you know, I didn't want to play 300 miles an hour. We wanted to play a little slower, you know, and that was the difference. Well, the hardcore scene was fine with it because we were all friends. So for us, it was more like, you know, it was a fashion choice. You know what I mean? It was like, do you wear sneakers or do you wear boots? You know what I mean? Amongst ourselves. Later on, as things got bigger, And like Harley's mentioned, I mean, it really was Maximum Rock and Roll that went and fucked everything up, because they had to be like, this is the rule book and you have to do this, and this is punk rock and this is not punk rock, and if you don't agree with me, you must be a fascist because we are the law. And a bunch of fucking pussies, you know what I mean? So, and we didn't give a fuck about them, but you know, in our circles, which was everybody involved in the scene at that time, there was no, you know, there was no problem. You know, there was no problem at all, because we all got along, you know. I mean, you know, there's the usual teenage bickerings and, you know, mad at somebody for a week and not, you know, next week you're best buds again. I mean, you know, it's normal stuff. But as a thing, it wasn't like, you know, me and my guys were over here and those other guys were over there and we didn't hang out together. I mean, we all lived in the same houses. We all went to the same places. Some of us drank, some of us didn't. I drank a lot. And I slept with women too, a lot. Every chance I got. So we had our own way of doing things. Some of the other guys didn't, but we were all part of the same thing, because, you know, we were all getting shit from the outside daily. So, you know, we backed them up, they backed us up. It was no different. We were together. And later on, you know, things devolved into cliques and clacks and, you know, this and that, and, you know, and thanks Maximum Rock and Roll.
All right, I'd like to dedicate this next one to the sanctimonious pricks that want to write a rule book for everything you fucking do, and if you don't get to like fit in their rule book, like people like Maximum Rock and Roll, bunch of fucking cocksuckers if ever there was one. But that's just my opinion.
I don't know if we really did that, because, you know, we listened to everything, you know what I mean? And records back then were, a lot of them were hard to find, you know? So somebody would have, like, you know, I mean, I found a Coxbar 12-inch, the We Love You one, in some record store in Towson in like 1978, and I bought it because the cover was cool. I'm like, wow, these guys look cool, you know? And so I loved it, you know? But, you know, so it wasn't like, the rules hadn't been set yet, you know what I mean? So we were listening to, you know, and there was a before punk rock too, you know what I mean? There was glam rock and you know, so I mean, I was a huge Slade fan, you know, David Bowie, I'm a huge Roxy Music fan. So whether those bands influenced me, you know, I mean, but you know, it's not like, you know, oh, I lived in a bubble and then punk rock happened and then I listened to music and I never heard anything like it before. You know what I mean? So it's just one of those things. So we were influenced by a lot of stuff. And of course we were also influenced by what the hell we didn't want to sound like. You know what I mean? Which was like the Eagles, the Outlaws, Lynyrd Skynyrd, and, you know, all this fucking dumb shit that was just like pointless. We were just interested in singing about what our lives were like, you know, and like I say, our lives weren't nice. They weren't, you know, hugging whales, you know, like, you know, or our lives were revolved around drinking, getting out of fights because people would attack us, and you know, and we were the type of guys who wouldn't take that kind of shit, as were most of the guys in DC at the time. I mean, you know, just because you're straight edge doesn't mean these guys were pussies by any standards, you know. And you know, you get people want to fuck with you, and oh, Oh dear, that hurts, doesn't it? I'm so sorry for you, you know? Should have kept your fucking mouth shut, you prick. You know what I mean? Not your business, what I'm wearing, so my head's shaved. You wanna fuck with me? You got it.
I started being a skinhead when I was like 12. We started going to hardcore shows in Annapolis at the Stanton Center, this little spot. And, you know, there was United Front and Sharp, and there were these little weird little cliques of skinheads. I remember distinctly, there was a guy came out of a car and he pulled a gun on a bunch of us. We were all like standing outside this spot. And I remember one of the older skinhead guys took me and it was just like threw me behind a dumpster and was like, you can't block bullets with your fists. Like, what are you doing? You know what I mean?
You can't block bullets with your fists. You can't block bullets with your fists. You can't block bullets with your fists. You can't block bullets with your fists.
I mean, we used to get in fights for like, do stupid shit. I don't know. What is skinhead and what does it mean to me? I guess in the end, it's really just a bunch of guys that are good friends. We sort of like, you know, like I'm working on my house, the guy comes over and helps me. We just sort of look out for each other. I got into it because it was, I guess, who I was really. I didn't really have to think about it. It just ended up that way. I think reggae is really important in the scene today because it's the beginning of skinhead. You know, if you go back where skinheads came from and all that, you got Jamaican black immigrants hanging out with white working class kids in England, and they sort of got together and made skinhead reggae, and there was a whole dance hall thing. And reggae's influence in the subculture is important because it always reminds you of what the skinheads, what they were really initially about. And, you know, they got this Nazi corruption and the this and the that. It really has nothing to do with it. The whole skinhead reggae thing ties skinhead always to the sort of black reggae culture, and it's something that you can't really forget. It's fundamentally skinhead. It's important now because it's the beginning, it's the roots. And if you want to be a skin, I guess, you sort of have to take reggae and ska and all this into consideration. It's important now because it was important then.
turning on based on your religion. Everybody sits around watching television. London's burning with bottom now. London's burning down 999. London's burning with bottom now. London's burning down 999. London's burning.
The whole reggae thing, really, I mean, again, that's the first generation, and they were the first white people to latch onto reggae. And you know, if you think about it, it was the obvious reason. I mean, this was because, you know, again, you know, blue collar people living next to each other, and you had all the Jamaican immigrants. So of course, you're walking down the street, they got their windows open, you're going to be like, wow, that's awesome. So you know, the skinheads latched onto the reggae as music to listen to, because they and the Jamaicans were going to the same bars and hanging out in the same, because they lived in the same neighborhoods. You know, and let's, you know, it's not often said, and it's certainly not often said enough, but a whole lot of the music that was going on in the 60s was utter shit. It was crap. You know what I mean? It's like, who cares about Cream? They suck. It was boring. So, you know, here was music that's bouncy and that's alive. And again, you know, it changed later on. But at that time, I mean, it was really driving, pumping, dance music, you know, and it was right next to American soul music, you know, and of course they influenced, you know. And so you had this whole thing going on. The mods were all into soul music. Desmond Decker was the first reggae artist to have a #1 hit in England, because a bunch of skinheads went out and bought that song. That sort of golden period of you know, ska and skinhead reggae and roots, you know, the early part of roots, is still, it's fucking great music. So you latched onto the skinhead thing. It became really so popular, in fact, that some very savvy Jamaican guys figured out that if I throw skinhead in a title of some reggae songs, I'm going to be selling some music. So they did, and some of it is dire, and some of it's really, really good. I mean, Skinhead Girl is a great song.
Boots on her feet,
Honestly, UB40 was the first kind of reggae. Even though they're like kind of the pop reggae, they don't really represent Jamaica all that well. That was my first introduction to reggae, but I loved it. And I bought their early albums, and I started to delve into Jamaican music. I didn't know anything about it. Nobody I knew even knew what reggae was. I just knew the name and knew that I liked what I heard. And so that was some of my early introduction to reggae. But by the time I was about maybe 14, I'm originally from Fresno, California, and there's a band from there called Let's Go Bowling. We're like a ska band from the 80s that were really popular. And I got into Let's Go Bowling. As soon as I heard them, the first song, I was hooked. And so then I was like, all right, I gotta check this out. And the more I got into it, the more I realized I didn't know anything about it, but the more I loved it, the deeper I'd get into it, the more meaningful it was, and just became hooked. When I was in junior high, I was about maybe 14 years old. I actually played in an Oi band called United Difference, and didn't know much about it. I wasn't a skinhead, but the other guys in the band were skinheads, and I just happened to be a guitar player that they knew. So I joined the band, and we'd play these parties, be all skinheads and stuff. And I remember talking with the drummer, and he was kind of schooling me on skinheads, and he was telling me like the original skinheads they started in the 60s in England, and they listened to, ska and reggae and soul music. And here I was, this little kid growing up on, 80s American hardcore and punk rock and stuff, and I was like, reggae? What? It really blew my mind. And it just seemed so odd. And soul music? Yeah, Stax, Motown, skinheads love that. Original skinheads, didn't make sense to me at the time. As I got older, I started getting into ska and reggae, and started learning about the history, and it was like, oh my gosh, yeah. Now I started learning about the history, and it kind of made sense, looking back at what was going on in England in the late 60s, and started to find out about it, that the two go hand in hand. That was their music, reggae. We're definitely not a skinhead reggae band, per se. We're a reggae band, and first and foremost, we've toured Europe many times, and some of the German skinheads, particularly, have said, why are you playing this music? You're not skinheads. And our response is, well, neither were the Jamaicans that made this. They weren't skinheads either. Skinheads have always appreciated this music, but traditionally they never really made the music. And so we don't, the skinhead culture, to us, we're just a band, first and foremost, that happens to love Jamaican music. And so for us, kind of the subcultures, fashion, never intertwined for us. It was always strictly the music. And for the five of us, we've all come from different backgrounds, have different politics, different religions, completely different backgrounds. We don't agree on anything except music, that we love reggae. And we all grew up on listening to different music, and we all dress different, but reggae is the one common bond. And we decided to pick this one era of Jamaican music that historically skinheads have loved, and we love it. And it's just killer music.
Yeah, for me, it's always been a working class thing. I come from a working class family. Like, I mean, a lot of my older relatives are like shipbuilders and, you know, worked in like, you know, the iron industry back in, you know, I grew up in Illinois and, you know, back in the steel industry, stuff like that. I'm actually a miner right now. I work at a mine for, you know, a chemical company. We are, you know, I work at a zircon mine right now. It's really kind of funny because it seems like, especially in Asia, they're really the ones that really keeping it alive right now. I mean, the numbers over there are incredible. Same thing in South America. Like the band I play in now, the Templars, we're negotiating, you know, a deal right now to do some gigs in South America, Chile, and possibly Brazil. I've been told like Santiago, Chile has like a 2,000 strong skinhead scene, which is pretty amazing, you know, if there's that many people into it, you know. And, you know, it's just really cool to see how it's like spread around the world, you know. It's like, it really is a worldwide, you know, culture now, which is great. And a lot of the bands from these like countries, like, I mean, Malaysia's got, you know, some really good bands I've heard. There's some really good bands in Brazil, you know, Argentina. It's like, yeah, it's just amazing to see how it's spread worldwide. And, you know, a lot of these countries are the ones that are really keeping it, you know, really keeping it alive and vital right now, I think. That's a tough one. Well, in the 80s, especially in the mid-80s, when I first got involved, it was really cool because there was no, the media hadn't like poisoned the general public's opinion towards the culture yet. Like, I remember the years 85 to 87, like when I was real young and just starting to come up in it very fondly, because it's like you can just do your thing. I mean, you know, party, go out to drink, you know. We were running the streets, like causing all kinds of mayhem and shit. It was just fun times without, you know, everybody thinking you were like some kind of racist Nazi, you know, which kind of started happening from like, I'd say 88 on, you know. It just, you know, once, you know, Oprah and Geraldo and all those, you know, talk shows started doing stories on skinheads, and Rolling Stone and every other major magazine and newspaper, it just really went downhill fast from there. It's like everybody all of a sudden thought they knew what skinheads were, but were getting only a very biased and one-sided view of it, and really kind of made life hard for everybody, you know, regardless of where you stood politically. So I think the 80s were a lot more, you know, of a good time. Now it's, you know, it's harder. I mean, you tell somebody you're a skinhead, you got to be prepared to, you know, go through a whole lengthy explanation as to what it's about, and, you know, it just wasn't like that back in those days.
Skinheads and punks, it depends on how you're going to look at it. Punks spend a lot of money on leather jackets and studs, and certain skinheads spend a lot of money on Fred Perry's and boots and other clothes. Those are the people that dress the part. Those are the people that live the part, that fight in the military and work blue-collar jobs and struggle to be in this country. You know, there's other people that try to dress the part of people from the 60s and 70s of British culture, and really don't understand it. They just wear old clothes. Skinhead to me is a blue-collar struggling person, you know, and dressed down in their work clothes. That's initially what it was supposed to be, not fancy tennis shirts and expensive boots that get flats on them. I prefer Danner boots. They're made in America, not in England or China. You know, to me, I mean, there's passion and then there's fashion. I like passion, so that's why I don't back myself into a corner of any certain thing. But I also can't afford those clothes. Gas prices have doubled. It cost me $200 to get to the show. What do you think I got fucking paid tonight? Like 500 bucks? You know, to get shirts sent out on tour. We can't fill up our van enough for a month-long tour. You know, people don't understand. The prices of shows have maintained the same. It's $10 to get into the show. How much was to get into this thing? 20 bucks, 22 bucks, so what? What's a fucking Fred Perry cost? Right? What, yeah, 80 bucks? They won't complain about buying some fucking fruitcake tennis player's shirt, but they'll complain about paying to come into a show. You know, you talk about support. What is that supporting by buying that brand name shirt as opposed to supporting your friends' bands? Think about it. I don't see punks on the street anymore. I see them at the Warped Tour, you know, and they have no problem paying 30 bucks to sweat in a parking lot, but they have problems to pay 10 bucks to come see a real punk show from real bands that struggle and aren't in a tour bus. So you got to look at it as it is. You know, you look at kids sweating bands that are dressed in fancy punk rock clothes and fancy dressed up clothes to be a certain part and in expensive buses, or you look at guys that struggle for years and years like Saab and myself and Vinny Stigma and many other guys that are sick of it all, and guys at Patriot, and then you see the small amounts of kids that we play to, but that are grassroots and true. Guys that are, since they're little kids when the military came out, still come to see us, still are what they say they are, skinheads and punks and stuff. You know, 30s and 40-year-olds. Then you see these other fucking purists that get on their parents' computers and talk shit about us. You know, it is what it is. There is no punk on the street anymore because your kids aren't allowed to hang out on the street anymore. That's why the Cat's Cradle is great. The cops pull up in the back and look and they drive away. You know, when kids try to start clubs, the police shut them down. When yet it's the best place to monitor all the jackasses in the neighborhood. You know, they're in one box. You know, street punk, when I used to sit in the street, it was 25 years ago on the Lower East Side, and I didn't want to. We had to. We had nowhere to go. You know, that was before that shithole CBGB's. There was a place, A7, that we took over, and that's where New York hardcore began, not at CB's with their $7 beers. So, I mean, it is what it is. Street punk, well, let me see pictures of them on the street, and then we'll talk about it. I do now. I see a lot of kids. I see a lot of kids coming out of the military because they're looking for something to scream at and yell with, and it's cool that they can yell with my band and drink and laugh and have fun. You know, a lot of other people are just rehashing the past, and I don't like to rehash the past. I just like to sing about drinking and fucking and having a good time, forgetting about things for about an hour, and then bitching about it between laughter.
For a lot of skinheads, there's a lot more superficial reasons and motivations. The scene, the music, the clothing, the style. Sure, but it's always been really important to me as a skinhead to have a very concrete and definitive set of beliefs and values that support my appearance and my lifestyle as a skinhead. It's not just about liking this band and wearing that shirt. It's a lot more to it. And I see a lot of younger generation, a lot of younger kids that don't seem to grasp that or really understand that there's ideals, there's values, there's a belief system that are an important part of identifying yourself and claiming to be a skinhead. Anywhere in the world where the working class is oppressed, where the working class is not shown the respect and the credit that it's due, or anywhere in the world where men and women get up and they toil and they labor to make a meager pension and bring home a meager pay just to barely scrape by and put food on the table for family. It needs a voice, and always a voice of those people. And it doesn't matter where you're from, what part of the world you're from, what color your skin is. If the working class, which unfortunately is the case most places, is not shown the respect and given the credit due, then sooner or later something's got to give. And the Oi music is that charged, that passionate, voice for the working man. I think a lot of skinheads see it as that, and that's it's up to everyone, I guess, to a certain extent to make of it what they will. For me, it's not. It's a way of life. I didn't have to say no to being a skinhead to say yes to the rest of my life. I wish people would understand that that you don't have to grow your hair out and stop being a skinhead to have a decent job, to have a career, to own a home, to have a family and a wife. These are things maybe in certain situations it might be more prudent to tone it down a little bit. But I know plenty of people that are very successful in other aspects and ideas of life, and they're still skinheads. But for some people, it is just a rites of passage. I've in times past, I've always been kind of critical of people who tended to use it as just a growing pain or a social stepping stone, a stage, a phase, or a fad that kids going through. But it's not really my place to dictate to everyone, beyond a certain point what a skinhead is or isn't. I think there's a certain baseline or a certain level of what it means to be a skinhead. But above and beyond that, a lot of people will oftentimes bring to it what they will as well, and it'll assign whatever significance or whatever meaning in their own personal lives to it.
Just a
angel want me to free. Always getting you away. Baby, please don't go away. I want you to stay. What is it? What the fuck did I do? You come up on the show with stitches and bruises. Yeah? Smelling like smoke and bitches and bruises. Oh. Just because you found me no tattoos doesn't mean I let myself be you. I don't want to hear you cry your blues. Run up on and tell you the bad news. Now the time is come for you to choose. Take a look at what you had to lose. Baby, please, now don't be that please. What you always say. Oh, my angel want me to free. All the games you play. That's fucking Jenny Whiskey on the saxophone.
Skinhead represents to me a way of life that has to offer good clothing, drinking beer with friends and having fun, and most important, good music. The band that brought me to ska were the Specials. And the first ska song I've ever heard was A Message to You, Rudy. And when I saw the Specials live in 1981, it was one of the best experiences in my whole life.
Chocolate is coming and the people are brown. Chocolate is on the shop down. Chocolate is coming and the people are brown. The people are wild. Chocolate is go, 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 go.
The two-tone movement had a major influence on my band. We were just kids and saw all those bands, Madness, Specials, The Beat, Selector, and we just wanted to be like them. They were the best.
Guys, our business.
Why did you become a skinhead, or what does skinhead represent to you?
Got into being a skinhead first time round in 1980 when I got into two-tone, like most kids at my age. We all started listening to Madness and Specials, Selector, and Doc Martens were an instant favourite because everyone wore them. Got my first pair of Cherry Reds within about 4 months. Never had a pair not on my feet at some point in a week ever since.
There should be no black or white in this world. There should be no wrong or right in this world. When there's only head and turn in this world. Turn it what you believe in. Yourself, yourself, you better believe it. Yourself, 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 you better believe it.
As a hardcore band, do you see any real divisions between punks and skins, other than appearance? What separates them?
That's a touchy subject with some people. Skinheads tend to care more about the history of it than most punks, especially these days. A lot of punks listen to Exploited and that, or these days kids like emo kids will call themselves punks when they're not. But a bit more politicised with punks, where skins just want to have a good time, more interested in being true to themselves and true to their mates rather than just wearing a Mohican and a leather jacket.
Skinhead has always been synonymous with working class pride. Is this the common bond that unites skins internationally?
Definitely. It's part of what makes us what we are. We like to work. All the people I know that call themselves skinheads all have jobs. When they haven't got a job, they're looking for a job. They want to pay their way. They want to go out and have a good time and have the say and all that other stuff that everyone else says. But the working class bond is always there. Everyone that I know will always go out and work and pay their way. Don't know anyone who's been on the door for any length of time that's been a skin and meant it.
Mommy never said no and daddy wasn't there. Never went to school and the teacher never cared. Never been with something cause you do this with your life. Mommy never said no and daddy wasn't there. Never went to school and the teacher never cared. When you just get it, you'll be feeling it's a fair. Hometown, time bomb. In a hometown, just a fucking time bomb.
Many outsiders only see skinheads as a group and not as individuals. Why is this?
It's easy to label people with a stereotype, and a skinhead is a massive stereotype to most people. Most people don't even realise it came from Jamaicans. Most people don't give a monkey's fucking shit it came from Jamaicans. They're far more interested in blaming us for most other things they can blame on us or tag us with being violent, we're being drunk, we're being whatever, which, yeah, alright, some of us are, but not all the time. We've got a lot more to say and a lot more good in us than that.
Last song then. If you've not heard this and you've got a punk rock fucking heart, I don't know why you've not heard it. You must have been in a fucking rock somewhere. This is called Alternatives. Thanks for coming in. Cheers. Just to stand and live in the king's week now to do and you better stand. They're looking in. I'll tell it, don't tell it. I don't want to join the army. I'll tell it, don't tell it. No, it's wasting time. I'll tell it, don't tell it. I'll tell it, take what they say. I'll tell it, don't tell it. Choice is mine. Now, politicians, will they care? They want to come and share. They won't give a fuck if you get shot. I know where the fire be there. I'm telling, don't tell it. I don't want to show the army. I'm telling, don't tell it. I know it's wasting time. Oh, I'm telling, don't tell it. I'm telling, take what they say. I'm telling, don't tell it. Choice is mine. Do you really want to die? To allow people to survive. Only then we have their freedom. Always for the pain of the rain. I'm telling, don't tell it. I don't want to show the army. I'm telling, don't tell it. No, it's wasting time. Oh, I'm telling, don't tell it. I'm telling, it's what they say. I'm telling, don't tell it. Choice is mine. I'm telling, don't tell it. 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 Choice is mine.
Why does Skinhead endure? At the core, what is its appeal that attracts new generations of kids?
There's an honesty to it that doesn't go with almost any other kind of music. It doesn't change. The bands that were famous in the 80s still get listened to now. The business is still going. Last Resort has started going again. Forskins have just started going again, and people always go and see them bands because they pretty much started the ball rolling. Legendary bands. You get American bands just the same. Iron Cross, Agnostic Front. People will always go see them bands whenever they're playing because it matters. There's new bands that come on and will stay. You get people like Dropkick Murphys that got a bit of a skinhead following that will always boost it up. People like ourselves, Keyside Strike, Gimp Fist over here, same sort of thing. Just everyone stays true to what's right. It doesn't even matter about whether you play exactly the same type of music. It's where it comes from, what you stand for, and what you believe in. That's what matters. Like I said, the working class pride thing is a huge part of that. Not taking the shit that you're force fed from the government's another one. We've all got our own opinions and stick to them.
Why does Skinhead endure? At the core, what is its appeal that attracts new generations of kids?
That's a good one too. Honestly, it's like, I don't know. I mean, I think the fact is probably about the only true subculture left. I mean, it hasn't been, you know, like, I mean, punk. I mean, like I said, I grew up in the punk scene, but that's like totally diluted now. Even like the more extreme ends of it, like, you know, the real mohawk, studded leather, spiky hair scene, you know. It's kind of like a cartoon thing now. People like go, oh, look at that guy with the mohawk, you know, isn't that cute? Whereas back in the day, I mean, if you look like that, you know, people were like throwing things at you out of cars and wanting to fight you, you know? I mean, it's totally changed. It seems like one generation's rebellion is the next generation's mainstream. That's kind of what's happened to punk and most other subcultures, but I don't know, maybe it's because, you know, of all the misinformation about skinheads. People still, you know, skinheads still shock people, you know, and it's still something that kind of makes people pause and go, whoa, you know? And it's all about the only subculture left that does that, and I think that's kind of why it's endured.